Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Hi, I'm Speeder. Okay, welcome back. Today, I will be doing something I haven't done before, which is a redo of a previous video. This is less a redo, more of an update. So, a little over a year ago, I believe it was November of 2020, may have been December, I'm not sure. It was sometime in 2020. I made a my top 10 favorite books video. It was one of the first videos I made, potentially the second episode in general that I made. Second video in general. I'm not exactly sure. Let me check. See, switch account. Keeper of the books. Your channel. Videos. Yeah, it was the the second ever video that shut up that I made. And it was in fact November 12th, 2020. I think I have desktop audio enabled. Yeah, so you may have been able to hear that. So I'm sorry about that. I accidentally started playing the video. But anyways, yeah. So I've written down every single series that I've ever read and enjoyed to the best of my ability. I don't remember everything I've read. And I have gone over everything and made a much more accurate top 10 favorite books, at least for this time. My previous top 10 favorite books list could very much have been accurate for the time, but it is no longer accurate now in any way. I don't think any of the books are in the same place. Yeah, it doesn't look like any of the books are in the same place. My number one favorite book has changed, which happens. But today I am here to give an update on my top 10 favorite books. Yeah. So, let's get into it. I will try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. Alright, starting off with number 10, we have Five Kingdoms by Brandon Mull. This series I loved a lot. It's a little bit lower down on the list because I got a little bored reading the first book, and it's one that it took me a couple tries to get through the first book, but once I did and I got into the other books, it was much better. A similar thing happened with Beyonders by Brandon Mull, which is not on this list. Spoiler alert. But it is probably in like my top 15. I couldn't get through the first book. It took me several tries, and I finally did, and it wasn't as good as Five Kingdoms, but it was still very good. Yeah, Five Kingdoms is a great kind of adventure story, and the ending is interesting, but I'm not going to talk about that because I said I'd remain spoiler free. So let's just move on to. I think Five Kingdoms is a great way to start this list. Let's move on to my 9th place book, which was previously in the top 10 and is still, but it has dropped a lot, and that is Ranger's Apprentice. I still love this series, but I think that I love these other 8 above it just a little bit more. The first book, just like Five Kingdoms, it took me several tries to get through, and in my rereads of it, it's still kind of boring. So the first book has a very it's kind of weak, but it gets better throughout the series, and it gets phenomenally better in its companion series, and the prequels. So it's a very large thing now. I haven't actually read all of the sequel yet, since I think, yeah, one book has come out. I think it was the last book in the Royal Ranger, has come out since I and has come out recently, and I didn't know about it, but now I have it on hold. But I have a lot of books right now. My mother is currently going to the library because I'm sick with some sort of stomach bug or something again. She's going to the library to trade out Oathbringer, which I'm still reading, for another copy of Oathbringer since it's due today. Plus, the same thing for Dragonwatch Book 5. And I also, here in front of me, have Animorphs Book 34 and Trials of Apollo Book 3, which I'm in the middle of. Plus, she's also picking up Wheel of Time Book 6, which I still have yet to finish because I took a break from Wheel of Time for a while. And I'm also, reading a chapter a day of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone again. Plus, on Overdrive... Or no. Plus, on the online library app that I use, I have checked out, like I said, Ranger's Apprentice, The Royal Ranger, Missing Prince, plus Warbreaker, and Mistborn Book 1, I think, and The Rise of Kyoshi and the Shadow of Kyoshi from Avatar: The Lost Airbender novels. But anyways, moving on. Yeah, Ranger's Apprentice, very good series. I own books 1 through 8 and book 1 of Royal Ranger. And it is definitely a series that I will reread someday, once I've finished it. Moving on, we have number 8, which could fill up, 3 or 4 spots on this list, is the Percy Jackson entire collection. So that's Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Heroes of Olympus, Trials of Apollo, plus the Demigod Diaries and Demigod Files, which I haven't read yet, and I think Magnus Chase is also in that, but I haven't read that either. And then, of course, the Kane Chronicles, which I have read. So those are all packed in on this spot in 8th place. I only own 2 of the books from it, but I very much love it. It's very, very good. And it's definitely something that I read in my chill time. But there are a few portions where it can be a little repetitive and a little bit boring, which is why it's not as high up on the list as some other ones, but it is still very good. Alright, in 7th place we have Michael Vey, which was previously, I believe, in 4th place. It has dropped a few since I remembered 3 series on here that I absolutely adore and did not, for some reason, include on my top 10 list. But I love Michael Vey. It's very dark, but very good. The villain is fantastic and terrifying, and the premise of the whole series is awesome as well. And I think it was done very well. The reason it's a little bit lower is because I don't remember a ton about some of the middle books. I remember everything about the later ones and the first one, but I really need to reread that one to be able to talk about it thoroughly and very well. Number 6 is, unfortunately, Keeper of the Lost Cities. It has dropped to 6th place, unfortunately, just because I have found myself enjoying the 5 above it just a little bit more, and this one can have a couple of bland spots in there. It can be a little bit repetitive, and a little bit hard to get through when it comes to books like 6 and 7. But overall, it's a really great series. I very much have enjoyed it, and I'm very much anticipating Book 9, which will come out later this year. We have a confirmation date for when it will come out. And the name, I believe, what is it called again? What is Keeper The Lost Cities, book 9 called. And yeah, Stellar Loon, I think is how you say that. Stellar Loon. I think the name is Stellar Loon. I'm afraid I'm saying that wrong, but I believe it's Stellar Loon. So we have a name and we have a date. That's awesome. Very much excited for that. And maybe this series will jump farther up the list again. It was previously my all-time favorite series. So maybe it will drop. Maybe it will go farther up the list. Maybe become my number one again after book 9. Very excited for that. At number 5, we have the Stormlight Archive, the only series on here that I have not finished at least one of the series for. Because like Ranger's Apprentice and Percy Jackson, I have finished most of them, just not like all of them. But this is the only one on here that I haven't finished at least one series in it. I have not read Rhythm of War yet. I am rereading the first 3, which I read a few years ago. Before I read Rhythm of War, because I did not remember like anything, because it's kind of a lot. Each book is over 1,000 pages so far, and it's a lot. So I am currently reading Oathbringer again, and I will be reading Rhythm of War sometime this year. Very excited for that, but it's such a good series. It has so many things that I would love to rant about. But I want to be fully informed, so I want to finish Rhythm of War before I go into too much detail about why I love this series so much. But it's the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I guess I kind of didn't mention who all of these were by. So it's Ranger's Apprentice by John Flanagan, Percy Jackson by Rick Riordan, Michael Vey by, is it Richard Paul Evans? Who wrote Michael Vey? Yeah, Richard Paul Evans. Keeper of Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger, and The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, my all-time favorite author. Yeah, I am in love with The Stormlight Archive. In 4th place, we have Harry Potter. This was previously in 3rd place, but it has dropped a place. I have reread this series more times than I can count. Just kidding, I've reread it 7 times, and I'm currently on my 8th time rereading it. I am in love with this series. I don't really like the author, but I love the series itself. I'm a gigantic fan. I've read all of the books. I've seen all of the movies, except for Fantastic Beasts. I have read through The Cursed Child, and yeah, I have taken every quiz and sorting thing. I'm a Ravenclaw. If I can pull up my Wizarding World account. I could probably tell you what my other stuff is. I have several accounts made for this. So, not sure which one. Okay, yeah, so I am a Ravenclaw. My wand is it cypress wood with a phoenix feather core, 10 3/4 and unyielding 10 3/4 inches and unyielding flexibility. My Patronus is a Chow dog, not sure. So yeah, though my Patronus seems to change every couple times that I take that quiz. But that is the most recent one I've taken, so I guess it's the most accurate. So yeah, I love Harry Potter. It has its flaws, but I very much love it. and it will always hold a special place in my heart, so it is always a constant in my top 10 favorite books. Maybe that'll change one day, but I have always loved Harry Potter. Now for number 3, we have The Ascendants, previously known as The Ascendants Trilogy, by Jennifer A. Nelson. Or is it Jennifer A. Nielsen? I'm not sure. This is I think, a 5-book long series now. I haven't read book 5 yet, so I guess Stormlight Archive isn't the only one that I haven't finished one series of, but I kind of forgot about that. But False Prince used to be, The Ascendants, also known as False Prince, used to be a trilogy, but then Jennifer A. Nelson expanded on it by at least 2 books and added some stuff. And personally, the first 3 are still my favorite, though I haven't read book 5. Of the ones I've read, the first 3 are my favorites, but I think that book 4 was still very good. It's just a super enjoyable series. I love the main character. I love the story of it, and just everything about it is so interesting, and I just love it. Number 2 is another one that was not on my top 10 list before, but is now, and that is a series called Uglies. I'm not sure if that's the formal name for this series. But it's by Scott Westerfield, and I was just completely drawn in by this series. I read it a few years back, and I just immediately fell in love with it. It was so fantastic, and it's just a great example of good YA fiction. I would definitely 10 and 10 recommend this series. It has a lot of themes about, like, appearance and the importance of appearance in this world, which was like I think post-apocalyptic world, where things are very strictly controlled, and a normal-looking person is considered very ugly. And we follow our main character. I believe her name is Tally, unless I'm wrong. Yeah, Tally Youngblood. And I think it's, let's see, how, yeah, there are 4 books. There's 3 in kind of the original series, and there's extras, which is like basically a sequel. It doesn't follow the same main character, but it's still very good. So it's basically a trilogy with an extra book. Yeah, so it's Uglies, Pretties, Specials, and Extras. Very good series. Definitely recommend it if you are into YA. And finally, my number 1, which I cannot believe I did not think of from my original top 10 list. This series, along with Harry Potter and Avatar: The Last Airbender and Merlin, was basically my childhood, and that is Fablehaven by Brandon Mull. I'm currently finishing up Dragon Watch, which is a sequel series to it. The amount of times I've reread the series, it isn't as much as Harry Potter, but it's still a lot, and I'm completely in love with it. The characters are so interesting to me. I love Seth. Kendra is awesome too. There are 2 main characters, Kendra and Seth Sorensen, who are brought to a magical place owned by their grandparents. And that is a very poor description of how fantastic this series is, but it's basically my childhood. It will always hold a very special place in my heart. And it's one of my all-time favorite series, and according to Lycidas, at this particular time, February 7th, 2022, when I'm recording this, It is, at the moment, my all-time favorite series. I don't own any of the books from it, but it is still a phenomenal series, and I love it. So that's that. My top 10 favorite series: Five Kingdoms, Ranger's Apprentice, the entire Percy Jackson collection, Michael Vey, Keeper of the Lost Cities, the Stormlight Archive, Harry Potter, The Ascendants, Uglies, and Fablehaven. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you want me to do any more redos, because I can tell you that a lot of my rankings have probably changed over the course of the past few months when I've been on a major time reading spree. So please let me know if you would like to see more of these, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.